my friends, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now, I have been on a little bit of a posting break, and that is just because life does seem a little bit overwhelming right now, and the weather is really crummy, and it's snowy, and the days are shorter and darker, and I've just had a little bit of a struggle to be inspired to create projects. But today I did want to work on some Valentines, so I thought I would share them with you. And so my inspiration for today was to get into some of my collections and use them for purposes other than what they were designed to be for. So for today, we're going to be making sort of a woodsy kind of Valentine cards with the Christmas collection, Lumberjack Christmas. So stick with me and we'll make this together. So like I mentioned, I did not pick up any new Valentine collections this year. And that is not because I didn't find any that I liked, because I really did, especially the Cupid and Company. I think that was from Echo Park. I thought that was really sweet and I would have loved to have it in my stash to play with, but as I have mentioned in previous videos, we are preparing to downsize into a much smaller home. I have to be much more aware of adding collections and paper to my stash and hopefully getting a lot of use out of what I do decide to bring in. So this is the little Lumberjack collection. I picked this up during my Christmas in July series that I did all of my Christmas projects back during the summer. I did get more use out of it during actual Christmas, and now I find that I can draw from this collection again to get one more season out of it. So many of these cut apart images are very specific to a theme. This is camping and being outdoorsy, and then the Christmas ones are very specifically that holiday, but a lot of the paper patterns they have mixed in are really compatible with changing a season. So I wouldn't necessarily use this, but I would use this. I don't think I would use these for Valentine's or this one, but look at that pretty wood grain. So this has got a very great non-contrasting pattern, so I can use this as a background and not worry about adding other busy patterns on top of it. Plus I just really like wood grain. It's nice and natural and warm. Bears on the back, so that's pretty cute. Here's more of that plaid, and then here's more of what I was inspired to get into. So this is red and black buffalo plaid, and I thought that would work really well for more woodsy and nature-inspired cards. So I did that, and I also made the choice to work in an A2 size card, just because how I'm going to get my Valentine theme inspiration is using my die cuts and some stamped sentiment. So I know this is a perfect size to use for some of the dies that I wanted to use, so I have just a top folding A2 size card, and I finished the inside. This is another one of the patterns that I chose to work with. So this is just a black and white plaid, has a little gray in it so that it won't be so flat. I think that will look really nice on the inside. And then I'm also going to finish the cover with this as well. I picked a charcoal gray as opposed to a stark black because I thought that just added a little bit of extra depth. And so I'm using all of my regular borders that I like to add and just centering all of these panels. So this one is flat and went right onto the card base. And my next one is that die cut I mentioned earlier. So I have this set of nesting rectangles, and they have a pretty scalloped edge and then also a stitched effect detail. So I cut out my wood grain with that, and that was absolutely perfect for leaving me a space to have a window. I cut that with my heart die. This one also has a stitched edge, but that part came out. What leaves behind is a little window. So now what I've done is added a layer of my dimensional foam adhesive so that I can pop this panel up. This will be our first raised section. And here's a piece of that plaid that I mentioned earlier. So this is going to be what is inside the window. And rather than adding this to the card base and then attempting to get it on. I'm just going to tack it onto the back of this panel so that I get the position exactly where I want. And I'm trying to be aware of keeping those lines straight up and down since it is a plaid. And you see now we've created a sweet little window with a heart. Now here's where a great option would be. You could easily turn this portion into a shaker. I didn't want to do that today for this card, but that's pretty easy at this stage. You would just add your acrylic and your sequins, and you could put this on your base and have a shaker portion, and that would be really a great way to add a lot of extra detail. So now I'm just going to take the tape off the back of this paper. That will help to secure it down to my card base. And then, oop, I missed one. I'm just going to center that again, right in the middle, and that worked perfectly with this size of die cut. So I've got that right in the middle. Here is a smaller flower arrangement because this is a smaller card. And what I've decided to do was take my white flower and use that as a focal point in the middle, and then rather than add additional flowers to fill the space in, I tucked in a couple of glitter hearts, so one for each side, and then that looked a little garish to me because this is more of a natural outdoorsy kind of inspiration here. So I just put my loopy twine bows over top, so they're still there. I'm still getting the little sparkle and a little color, but it isn't as prominent. And then rather than my usual flourish of leaves, I just cut some rose leaves out of green cardstock and added them to fill in this arrangement. And so the last detail for this bit is a little bow that I tied from red wrinkle ribbon. This is a Mayart ribbon that I picked up from Really Reasonable Ribbon, and it was just the perfect red to go with this background. We've had this discussion in previous videos about trying to get the perfect red to match your pattern paper, but I think this one works really well. And even though this is a compact arrangement, I think it does fill in the space nicely. So I'll just add this as one single piece to my card. I'm being very careful not to cover too much of that heart because I don't want to lose what this pattern is all about. I don't want to disguise any of the shape there. Okay, so this looks really good so far, but what it needs to bring it over the top for a Valentine card is a sentiment. So I have this stamped on a piece of my discarded heavy-duty cardstock. I use 110-pound cardstock for my card bases, and so the offcuts provide me with a lot of really good quality paper to stamp on. So you want a good tight weave so that your impression looks really nice. And then I wound up just die cutting that with a dovetail, and then it has a stitch detail as well. So I want to hang this over that heart just a little bit. I've got the portion where it overlaps supported with more of the foam adhesive that I have under here, so I know it will be nice and flat and even. And then I put a little bit of just regular double-sided adhesive tape on the side that will be supported by this frame. So I'm just going to bring this all the way over as much as I can. And remember, because I used that super thick paper, that it will be very sturdy on the edge and I won't have to worry about it getting misshapen. So here is my Valentine card with the sentiment. Now this one I did stamp, like I said, from these little alphabet stamps. This is a Hero Art stamp set, and it has a couple matching dies. I've not used them yet, but what I really liked about them was that it reminded me of the Ray Dunn writing. It's very tall and very skinny, so I thought that was cute. I don't have any Ray Dunn in my collection, which I wish I did, but we're not in the phase of life of adding more things. We're just getting rid of stuff now, so I probably won't ever have a Ray Dunn, but I really like this kind of font. It's nice and compact, and it's very easy to read, and it's stamped beautifully. So I used this extreme black from My Favorite Things, and this does say it's compatible to use with alcohol markers, and I did not find that to be the case with my Spectrum Noir markers, and that could be on me because I'm not an expert colorist by any means. So some people have found a lot of success with this using with alcohol markers. I didn't personally, but I really do love it for stamping sentiments. You get a very beautiful, crisp, clear impression, and you definitely want that for something that's this simple, because any mistake is going to be very obvious. So I used my just letter stamps, and I created my own sentiment. You could write out whatever you like. I just wanted to be able to have this as one single impression and not try to get different letters lined up correctly. So this was just to make it easier. So you could continue with this, more options, put a couple of buttons on here, some sequins on the front, some kind of glitter. You could really add as little or as much detail as you like. I'm really happy with this the way it is because I wanted it to be more nature inspired or wood-ish, wood-like. There's a word in there somewhere. Okay, so when I had my heart cut out of the center, I found that I really liked what was the die cut that was left over. So here's that wood grain heart with the stitched effect that came out of here. I've just layered that over a doily, and then more of that red check. You see, this is a little bit different scale, and that is because it came off of a larger sheet of paper instead of the smaller tablet. I've also layered that black and gray plaid behind it. I think that makes a beautiful background because it has a different scale than this plaid on top. And then this here was a part of another sheet. It has a constellation. It has a little bit of a busier pattern, but because I cut it so small, it really reads as a nice neutral for the background. I did a similar flower arrangement here as my first one. I just kind of arranged all the pieces a little bit different so that it would fill in this corner. And then for my sentiment here, this is just another stamped word. And this one came from the Lawn Fawn Happy, Happy, Happy add-on. So this would be having lots of different holiday sentiments on it. You can see it upside down. So I got the Valentine Day one out, and then I used my same ink and stamped that, and then used a little bit smaller of a banner shape and cut that out, and then just added that onto the top. Another one that I found while I was looking around in my stash of stamps was this one, and I've forgotten about this. I've never used it. Has a I'm Owl Yours in a little heart flower. I didn't have any owls to add to the front, so I didn't use it for this one, but I think that's cute, and I could maybe color this in and add it somewhere to make it a nice sort of outdoorsy inspired Valentine card, because not all Valentine cards have to be pink and red and cutesy. Okay, so that's it for my two projects. I hope that you enjoyed watching me get into my stash and getting extra use out of collections more than what they were intended to be when they were designed. And hopefully that will help me get through some more of my paper before we move. And hopefully I won't add a whole lot more to it, and we'll be able to get into a new place, and I'll be able to have a nice stash of paper to work with when we get there. So that's all for today. I hope that you will consider joining me in my next video, and if you did like this one, please leave me a comment and leave me a thumbs up. If you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell notification so you'll be alerted every time we add new content. And as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!